There's this kind of widening gap. There's the public sector is growing faster than the private sector. That is not necessarily a great thing. The data is clearly showing that whole section is not working very well right now. And man, that sucks.
Will Carney make a difference? We'll give him some time. He is our prime minister, but I don't like the message and the propensity for government to be really running our economy. I don't know where we're going to go with all of that. So it's all to say this, that we see unemployment start to rise. We're going to see it continue to rise, especially in Ontario, to a lesser degree in British Columbia, because a lot of the construction of building homes has really shut down and the math doesn't work. Well, we're going to talk doom, gloom, and boom. And sadly, the boom isn't in a real estate boom in a good way. It's boom as in many things are blowing up. I've recently had conversations with, I don't know, probably about a half a dozen now, very accomplished and experienced realtors and Vancouver, Toronto. And they are literally using words like abysmal, meltdown. Where is this all going? And so when you look at what's happening in the real estate world, short of Alberta, and we can get there, it's not a good picture. You know, we've got the dog crate condos in Toronto. We've talked about it many times. It is literally melting down. There is no good news in that market. But overall, but here's the thing about it, JG. In this particular, what we call boom, where real estate is blowing up, there is some epic opportunities for investors. And we want to talk about that. But let's look at what's going on economically. We're seeing unemployment go up and it's going to continue to rise. There's lots of lag. And the only jobs that have been created recently, oh, guess what? Public sector. Gosh. Now, some of that, by the way, public sector was through the election. You know, the government brings in a bunch of people to support it. But that makes it even worse. The reality of it is the numbers are all skewed.
It's temporary.
And it's all temporary. But the bigger thing is we go back to it often, which is we're just continuing to be non-productive. Housing was what was floating our economy to a large degree, and consumerism, and both those things have shut down. So that's the doom gloom. That's only part of the doom and gloom. And then, of course, the real estate boom, as in it's blowing up in a very bad way.
No, well, I want to talk about this, Patrick, because this particular graph here that I'm showing on the screen is, I found very, very interesting for a couple different reasons. We've known for some time, you and I have talked about that, where there's this kind of widening gap. There's the public sector is growing faster than the private sector. That is not necessarily a great thing. It just means more and more people are being employed by the government. Not the best thing from yours and I's perspective. We would rather see the private sector growing faster than the public sector. However, what's surprising to me is the self-employed and how that category is literally treading water, it decreasing 1%, increasing 1%, 0%. Like, I really felt like since COVID, I was under the assumption that a lot of people went into entrepreneurship, but as you can tell, they didn't stay in entrepreneurship. They didn't stay self-employed. The data is clearly showing that whole section is not working very well right now. And man, that sucks. I mean, I'm so passionate about people being self-employed and creating businesses. I hate that this graph looks like this.
Well, I think that the private sector is also about business and entrepreneurs. What you're looking at self-employed, you're looking at those, one-man armies, solopreneurs. And yeah, that surprisingly hasn't grown, or at least it's not showing up in the charts. My impression, like yours, but there's a lot of people doing side hustles and doing that kind of solopreneur gig to make extra money and or make money, because layoffs are escalating. And I think we're going to end up seeing that number grow, is what I'm suspecting. But back to public sector, this goes back to the politics of things and just the way Liberal NDP government runs and how it rocks and rolls. Will Carney make a difference? I don't know. I'm not optimistic. We'll give him some time. He is our prime minister, but I don't like the message and the propensity for government to be really running our economy. I don't know where we're going to go with all of that. So it's all to say this, that we see unemployment start to rise. We're going to see it continue to rise, especially in Ontario, to a lesser degree in British Columbia, because a lot of the construction of building homes has really shut down. and the math doesn't work. You can't make a project pencil anymore, JG. You're doing it from, as a small developer in your hood. You've gotten very good at looking for deals, finding deals. You've got a system in place. You're renovating. You're doing ADUs. You're being very innovative and creative in what you do. By the way, that's the cool thing about small business. That's what they do. They hire people and they drive economies. Far different than what happens with government workers, by the way. But it's all to say that, there's lots of opportunities that's happening out there, but there's so much bad news economically that I think people are just totally shutting down. That's
The consumer confidence, Patrick, we called this. We knew consumer confidence would bounce back the minute the election, didn't matter who won the election. The minute the election was final, we knew consumer confidence would bounce back, and it has, which is a very good thing. That's good. That this part's a good thing, but small business confidence is certainly not bouncing back. My gosh, it's at an all-time low.
Well, okay, let's slow down a little bit. The consumer confidence ticked up. So, okay, we finally have a prime minister. And by the way, they're not even going back to parliament yet. I don't think they're going back till September is what I think is what I recently read. But I mean, like, who's leading the country? So that's a whole different conversation. Meetings with Carney and Trump. I mean, how did those go? It looks like Trump did a pretty good job of making Carney look a little dumb, given that the day before Carney's, doing lots of saber rattling and, it's like he's going to run the show with Trump. Trump owned him through that conversation. Carney was good, far better Carney than Trudeau. So that was good news. But consumer confidence ticked up. And then we look at business confidence, or, that, of course, has come down to an all-time low. People and small business sentiment is just crashing. As a small business owner myself, I'm noticing the slowdown. And it's an interesting time, that's for sure.
So if you like these episodes and you want to learn more about what's going on with real estate in Canada, investing in real estate, and understanding how to invest in real estate the right way, head on down to the descriptions below, follow those links.